Hello, welcome to this online offering of elementary algebra. These lectures are the most important part of this course. You must listen to at least 4 lectures a week, do all the homework and do the practice tests, and make sure that you stick to the schedule I have given to you in the syllabus. Alright, let's start with the lessons right away. Our first lesson is the study on fractions. What is a fraction? Well, we are familiar with all kinds of numbers, different types of numbers. Now, what are the different types of numbers that you are familiar with? Well, for example, when you want to count objects, we use counting numbers. Counting numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, goes all the way to positive infinity. Well, when you count pizzas, you can see 1 pizza, 2 pizzas, 3, 4, 5, and so on. You have counting numbers. Now, you must notice that there is nothing in between 1 and 2. From 1, you simply jump to 2. And so, we say counting numbers are discrete numbers. Discrete numbers. You jump from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on. Now, along with these discrete counting numbers, if you put 0, then you call them whole numbers. Well, these are some of the numbers that we use in our daily life. Is that right? But very often we deal with numbers that are not whole numbers. Now, we may have to use numbers that are between 0 and 1, between 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, and so on. Well, what kind of numbers are they? When you cut a pizza into 6 equal parts and eat one of them, you are actually eating 1 part out of 6 of the whole pizza. 1 part out of 6. Well, that is a number greater than 0 but less than 1. It is not a natural number. It is not a counting number. It is not a whole number. You see? Well, here I have cut a pizza into 6 parts, and this is 1 part out of 6. And this is less than 1 whole. 1 part out of 6 is a number less than 1, and we call that a fraction. Well, that is a proper fraction. A proper fraction is a fraction that has a value less than 1. And how do we write it? Look at the way we write this 1 out of 6. We write 1 and put a line there, and that is the division sign. In other words, we are saying 1 pizza is divided into how many parts? 6 parts. And you take 1 out of that. The whole pizza is divided into 6 parts, and you take 1 of those 6 parts. 1 out of 6. 1 over 6. Or 1 divided by 6. That line is the division sign. Is that right? Well, a fraction has a numerator. There you are. And a denominator. And that is the most important characteristic of a fraction. A fraction has a numerator and a denominator. Let's now distinguish between a proper fraction and an improper fraction. Anybody tell me what is the difference between a proper fraction and an improper fraction? Well, we actually talked about it. A proper fraction has a value between 0 and 1. Is that right? A proper fraction is a number that is less than 1? Well, 5 over 6 is a proper fraction. Now, what is the characteristic of a proper fraction? You look at the numerator. The numerator of a proper fraction is always less than its denominator. That is the most important characteristic of a proper fraction. Now, tell me this. Is it possible that when you cut one pizza into 6 parts, you eat 7 pieces? Is it possible to eat 7 pieces when you cut one pizza into 6 parts? Think about it. Well, I think the answer is yes. How? Well, what you do is, you finish eating the first pizza, that is all the 6 parts of the first pizza. Then you go to the second one and take 1 out of 6 from there. What you have now eaten is 7 pieces when you cut one pizza into 6 parts. And we call it 7 out of 6. You see, you have eaten all the 6 pieces of the first pizza, and you have now come and taken 1 piece out of 6 from the second. So, you have actually eaten 6 plus 1, 7 pieces when one pizza was cut into 6 pieces. So, that fraction is 7 out of 6. Is that right? Okay. Now, 7 out of 6 can be understood as 6 out of 6. That is the first whole pizza. You have eaten the first whole pizza, all the 6 out of 6. Then you went to the second pizza and ate 1 out of that. So look at this. 7 out of 6 is the same as 6 out of 6 plus 1 out of 6. Does it make sense? Alright, what kind of a fraction is this? Now, this 7 out of 6 can be written as 1 and 1 out of 6. Is that right? 1 whole and then 1 out of 6. Now, this way of writing an improper fraction is called writing it as a mixed number. I'm sure you know that. So, improper fraction, and write it as a mixed number. 7 out of 6 is the same as 1 and 1 out of 6. You see, 7 out of 6 is an improper fraction. What is improper about it? What is the most important characteristic of an improper fraction? Well, I think when you look at it, it has a numerator greater than the denominator. Now that tells you that its value is greater than 1. You see that? An improper fraction has a value that is more than 1. And as a result, the numerator of an improper fraction is greater than its denominator. And we already said 1 and 1 out of 6 is called a mixed number. Do you know how to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction? It's very simple. Look at this. 6 multiplied by 1 is 6. And add this 1 to that. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and that will be your numerator. The denominator will be that 6 itself. We will practice that as we move on. Okay, tell me, 18 divided by 7 is an improper fraction. How do you write that as a mixed number? Look at the way I wrote this. 18 out of 6. First of all, you've got to ask, how many 7s can be taken from 18? How many 7s can be taken from 18? If you know your tables of 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. We have gone over 18. So we can take a 2 whole from 18. Well, 2 whole 7s from 18. That is 2 times 7 is 14. How many are left? We have 4 left out of 7. So 18 over 7 is 2 and 4 over 7. Okay, help me take this mixed number, take it back to the improper fraction. Can you do that? Look at the method. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18 over 7. Okay, let's move on. A fraction needs to be always written in its lowest terms. Very often students ask me, should we write the answer in the lowest terms? Well, of course, a fraction has to be always in its lowest terms. If a fraction is not in its lowest terms, then that is not acceptable. Tell me, what fraction represents eating 3 pieces out of 6? You cut your pizza into 6 pieces. You ate 3 of them. Well, that is 3 out of 6. But 3 out of 6 is actually 1/2 of the whole. Is that right? Yes. So this is the same as half of the whole. In other words, 3 over 6 is actually the same as 1 over 2. And how did we do this? Well, we can do a very little manipulation. Now, watch me do this now. What all I need to do is write the denominator 6 as 3 times 2. So 3 divided by 6 is now written as 3 divided by 6 is written as 3 times 2. And look at this. The 3 on the denominator and the 3 on the numerator will cancel. Now, what is on the numerator now? On the numerator is a 1 because 3 is 3 times 1. The answer is 1 over 2. So, 3 over 6 is the same as 1 over 2. Okay, a fraction must be written always in its lowest terms. Alright? I will not remind you this again, but that is true always. Now, in order to do this, what did we do? Factor the numerator and denominator. Now, how many of you know how to find the factors of a number? Well, I think we need to practice that a little while. Is that right? 6 equal to 2 times 3. 2 and 3 are called the prime factors of 6. What is the meaning of prime number? A prime number is a number that has no other factors except 1 and the number itself. 3 cannot be written as the product of any other numbers except 1 and 3. Is that right? So 3 is a prime number. A prime number has no factors except the number itself and 1. Well, look at this. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17 are all prime numbers. Can you tell me what is the next prime number in that series? What is the next prime number? Well, 19 is a prime number. I have asked you if you can now pause this presentation and write the next 5 prime numbers. Or even better, write all the prime numbers from 0 to 100. See how many of you can do that. You see, thinking about numbers is very important in the study of algebra. You must be an expert in numbers. Alright? Now, you see, it gives you power. When you know your numbers, it gives you power. So try and understand your numbers. Alright, a natural number that is not a prime number is called a composite number. A composite number is composed of factors. For example, 6 is not a prime number, it is a composite number. Why? Because 6 equal to 2 times 3. Is that right? So, while 2 and 3 are prime numbers, 6 is a composite number. Okay, let's move on. To simplify a fraction, you need to factor the numerator and factor the denominator and then cancel common factors. That is the method we will use in simplifying fractions. For example, you said 3 divided by 6. How do you factor 3? There's only one way to write 3. That is 3 is 1 times 3. And how do you write 6? 6 is 2 times 3. Let's now cancel the common factors. 3 on the numerator and 3 on the denominator. Our answer is 102. Okay, how about this? 4 divided by 18. 4 can be factored as 2 times 2. And 18 can be factored as 2 times 3 times 3. Well, I don't know if most of you know how to factor. Let me show you. Give me a second. Let's factor 18. Now look at the way I'm going to do this. Write 18 there and ask yourself, what is the smallest number you can divide this 18 by? Tell me, what is the smallest number you can divide 18 by? You've got to start with 2. Ask yourself, can I divide 18 by 2? How do you know? If the number ends in an even number, well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 0, is that right? Well, if the last digit is either 0 or an even number, you can divide that number by 2. So 18 can be divided by 2. And what is 18 divided by 2? It is 9. And can you divide 9 by 2? No. Next you try 3. Yes, 9 can be divided by 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 can only be divided by 3. And you got to continue dividing until you get a 1 there. And then your factors are picked like this: 2 times 3 times 3. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. Alright, so what is the next step? Next, we cancel common factors. 2 on the numerator goes with 2 on the denominator, leaving a 2 on the numerator, a 3 times 3 equal to 9 on the denominator. So 4 over 18 is the same as 2 over 19. Try this. 15 over 45. Tell me, what are the factors of 15? That's very simple. 15 has only 2 factors. That is 3 and 5. Okay, how many of you can factor 45? Okay, let's try this here. 45 is... Can you divide 45 by 2? No, 5 is not an even number. Can you divide 45 by 3? How do you know if a number can be divided by 3? Well, a simple rule there. Add the digits of the numbers. 4 plus 5 is 9. If the sum of the digits can be divided by 3, then the number can be divided by 3. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 can be divided by 3. Therefore, 45 can be divided by 3. See that? Okay, let me ask you. 152. Can you divide 152 by 3? Can you check that? 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 cannot be divided by 3. Therefore, 152 cannot be divided by 3. Alright, let me give you another number. 245. Can you divide that number by 3? 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. No, you cannot divide that by 3. But 246 can be divided by 3. Why? 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. So 246 can be divided by 3. Alright, let's divide 45 by 3. How do you divide 45 by 3? Alright, this is the way you go. First of all, say 3 goes in 4 ones. So we write that there. 3 goes in 4 ones. Alright, 1 times 3 is 3, remains 1. And this 1 and 5 is 15. And 3 goes in 15 5 times. See that? So 45 divided by 3 is 15. Well, now you know that 15 can again be divided by 3. And that will be 5. And 5 can be divided by 5 to give you 1. So the factors of 45 are, what are they? 3 times 3 times 5. You must practice the skills, very important. There you are. Well, I have actually done that here. I'm going to show that quickly for you. There you are. 45 is 3 times 5. Let's cancel common factors. 3 and 3 goes. 5 and 5 goes. What is my numerator now? Well, when all the numbers are gone, there is still a 1 left. So the numerator is 1, the denominator is 3. The answer is 1/3. Alright. Okay, let's now talk about multiplying fractions. What do you do to multiply fractions? When we multiply fractions, we first multiply their numerators, and then we multiply their denominators, and then simplify by making it in the lowest terms. For example, if I want to multiply 3 over 4 times 8 over 15, what's the method? First we multiply the numerator, so that will be 3 times 8 on the numerator, and 4 times 15 on the denominator. And now it is time for us to factor numerator and denominator so that we can cancel common factors. Look at this. 3 cannot be factored further. I factored 8. Now look at the way I factored 8. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. And I factored 4. 4 is 2 times 2. And 15 is 3 times 5. Well, now we cancel common factors. Well, 2 and 2 goes. 2 and 2 goes. 3 and that 3 goes. What's our answer? We are left with a 2 on the numerator and a 5 on the denominator. Now I know some of you think, isn't this too laborsome a method? Why don't we just simplify it here? Some of you know how to do that. Well, if you know how to do it well, try this, like this. You know, like this, 4 goes in 8 2 times, is that right? You know it. And 3 on the numerator goes in 15 5 times. You can see the answer is 2 over 5. Well, this is a very quick way of doing it when you know your numbers well. If you don't know your numbers well, you need to come and factor them like this and cancel the common factors. They are exactly the same. If you feel comfortable, you go like this. You see, 4 goes in 8 2 times. 3 goes in 15 5 times, giving us the answer 2 over 5. Okay, let's move on now. Let's now multiply 2 mixed numbers. Alright? 3 and 1/3 multiplied by 4 and 1/5. Well, In order to multiply these mixed numbers, the first thing you need to do is to write them as improper fractions. Alright, how do we write these as improper fractions? 3 and 1 over 3 will be 3 times 3 plus 1 equal to 10 over 3. Alright, let's now write 4 and 1/5. Try again. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21, so it's 21 over 5. So this product can now be written as 10 over 3 multiplied by 21 over 5. Okay, let's now factor this. Well, multiplying the two fractions means multiply the numerators. That's equal to 10 times 21 divided by 3 times 5. Can you simplify that? Well, 10 can be factored as 2 times 5. 21 can be factored as 3 times 7. And, of course, the denominator is 3 times 5. Let's cancel common factors. 3 goes in 3. 5 goes with 5. The answer is, the denominator is 1. The numerator is 2 times 7, 14. And when the denominator is 1, we don't normally care about it. We just leave it. So the answer is 14. Now here again, as you told you, if you don't want to factor but want to simplify right here, if you know how to do that without making a mistake, do it like this. 3 goes in 21 7 times, and 5 goes in 10 2 times. The answer is 2 times 7 equal to 14. Okay? Alright, you can choose either of these, but don't make a mistake. That's the important thing. Let's go on. Multiplying the numerator and denominator of a fraction by the same number does not change the value of the fraction. A very important result we will be using as we go on. You see, you can multiply the numerator and denominator of a fraction by the same number. We are not changing anything. For example, 3 over 4 can be written as 3 times 2 divided by 4 times 2. If you don't want it, you can simply cancel those common 2's. But there is an advantage in doing it at certain times, so we will practice this. In other words, 3 over 4 is the same as 6 over 8. You can multiply the numerator and denominator of a fraction by the same number without changing its value. We will practice this as we go on. For the time being, let's now talk about dividing by a fraction. Dividing by a fraction. How do you divide a number by a fraction? For example, what is the value of 2 divided by 1/2? We are dividing a whole number by a fraction. What is the meaning of that? 2 divided by 1/2. Another way of asking that will be, how many 1/2s are there in 2? Alright? How many 1/2s are there in 2? In other words, if you buy 2 whole pizzas, how many halves are there? Well, you can cut the first pizza into halves, there will be 2 pieces. You can cut the second also into halves, there will be 2 more pieces. So how many halves are there in 2 whole pizzas? Well, there are 2 pieces there and 2 pieces there. There are 4 of those. That means if you divide 2 by 1/2, the answer should be 4. There are 4 1/2s in number 2. So 2 divided by 1/2 is actually 4. Well, Let's practice something that some of you already know. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of a number? Put the number upside down. What is the reciprocal of 1 over 2? It is 2 over 1. It means dividing a number by a fraction is the same as multiplying that number with the reciprocal of the fraction. Is that right? So, reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1. What that means is 2 divided by 1/2 is the same as, can you complete that statement? 2 divided by 1/2 is the same as 2 multiplied by 2 over 1. You see, I just wrote that 2 as 2 over 1. It makes no difference. So 2 divided by 1/2 is the same as 2 multiplied by reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1. Okay, I want you to remember that. Dividing, you can change a division to a multiplication by writing the reciprocal of the dividing fraction. Okay, and that gives you 4 as the answer. Let's practice this. Find the value of 3 over 8 divided by 2 over 5. Well, what is the method? When you want to divide by a fraction, it doesn't matter what the first number is. The first number can be a fraction or a whole number. We leave it like that. You want to divide by a fraction, what do? Change the division to a multiplication and write the reciprocal of this fraction. So 3 over 8 divided by 2 over 5 is the same as 3 over 8 multiplied by 5 over 2. Okay, now we have changed the division to a multiplication. How do we simplify this? Multiply the numerator, that will be 3 times 5, divided by, multiply the denominator, 8 times 2. So my numerator is 15, my denominator is 16. There are no common factors you can cancel. So that's the answer. Try another one. Alright, try this. 7 over 15 divided by 5. Well, dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So in this case, you can change this division sign to a multiplication. And then this 5 will become 1 over 5. So this will be 7 over 15 times 1 over 5. Alright, now multiply the numerator. That will be 7 times 1 divided by 15 times 5. Are there any common factors that we can cancel there? No. So what's the answer? That will be 7 times 1 is 7. 15 times 5. I hope you know some idea of your tables. 15 times 5 is 75. The answer is 7 over 75. Let's try dividing mixed numbers. 2 and 2/3 divided by 5 and 1 over 4. Well, first of all, we need to write these numbers as improper fractions. Can you help me do that? 2 and 2/3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Is 8 over 3. Divided by 5 and 1/4 is 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. Divided by 4. So we have 8 over 3 divided by 21 over 4. What do we do next? Change the division to a multiplication and write the reciprocal of this fraction. So this becomes 8 over 3 multiplied by 4 over 21. tell me, look at these numbers and tell me, are there any common factors you can find from the numerator and the denominator? I don't think so. So we multiply the numerator. 8 times 4 is the numerator. 3 times 21 is the denominator. Okay? And that is 8 times 4 is 32. 3 times 21 is 63. Is the answer. Let's move on. We are now going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. A very important skill. Most often students have difficulty doing. So I'm going to develop a method for you. I want you to watch this and understand it and practice this over and over again. Do it many, many times. You see, algebra is learned by doing, not just by listening or by reading. You've got to do them over and over again. Tell me, what is the value of 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6? Well, that's very simple. If you want to go back to your pizza example, what it means is you divide one pizza into 6 parts. First, eat 3 of them. You eat 3 pieces out of 6. Then you go back and eat 2 more pieces out of 6. That means you have eaten 5 pieces out of 6. Is that right? So, when the denominators are the same, what all you need to do is add the numerators and use the same denominator. Is that right? You know it. So 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6, our denominator will remain 6. And the numerator is the sum of the two. So 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6 is 3 plus 2 over 6. You see? Adding 3 and then eating 3 pieces out of 6. And then eating another 2 pieces out of 6 is the same as adding 5 pieces out of 6. And this 6 is called the common denominator. You see? The common denominator is 6. And that is our denominator for the answer. And then the numerator is obtained by adding the 2 numerators. That's what we will practice in adding fractions. Alright? Let's move on. So that will be 5 over 6. Okay. Let's now add 7 over 10 plus 5 over 10. Alright, the first thing to do is, what is the common denominator? What is the common denominator? Well, both have denominator 10, so 10 itself is the common denominator. So, in adding this, we first write that common denominator. This is the method I want you to practice for every problem. So 7 over 10 plus 5 over 10 equal to. Write that common denominator with that division, the sign. What does this stand for? Well, that is what separates the numerator from the denominator. And we call it divided by. Is that right? And put that sign there. We now want our numerator. How do we construct our numerator? Well, all we need to do here is add our numerators. So, we got the common denominator 10, and then simply add the numerators. What is our answer? The answer is 7 plus 5 is 12 over 10. Well, is this an answer? Well, no. Why not? This is not in the lowest terms. How do we write this in the lowest terms? 12 can be written as 2 times 6. And 10 can be written as 2 times 5. And 2 and 2 goes. So we get 6 over 5. Well, 6 over 5 is an improper fraction. We write that using mixed numbers. How would that be? You can take 1 5 out of 6 and remains 1. It'll be 1 and 1 out of 5. Okay, I want you to practice this many, many times. How about this? 7 out of 10 minus 5 out of 10. So the only difference here is, in place of the adding, we have now subtracting. And the only difference there is, you have the common denominator as before. In place of adding the numerators, you have subtracting the denominators. The numerator is now 7 minus 5. In other words, whatever sign we have here, that is what we will use on the numerator. So the answer there is 2 out of 10. Can you tell me what that is in the simplest form? Well, 2 is 2 times 1, and 10 is 2 times 5. And of course the 2 and 2 cancelled, leaving us with the answer 1 over 5. Okay, let's now talk about least common denominator. Some of you know. Let's practice this. When the denominators are not the same, you see, when the denominators are the same, there is no problem finding the common denominator. But if the denominators are not the same, then we have a problem. Well, we need to find a common denominator. For example, let's add 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12. Well, the first denominator is 8. The second denominator is 12. They are not the same. So the question is, what is the common denominator here? Well, we attempt to make the denominators the same number. We need to get the same number for both denominators. Then we can add these quickly. Now, what should be that number? You know that multiplying a fraction on the numerator and on the denominator by the same number will not make any difference. So we need to find that number in here. To answer that question, we first factor both denominators. Well, our first denominator is 8. And you have no trouble factoring 8 as 2 times 2 times 2. Is that right? Now, what was our second denominator? You remember? It was 12. How do you factor 12? 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. I think that would be okay for you. Is that right? Now, how do we pick a number that can be divided by 8 and also divided by 12? We are looking for a common denominator. And that common denominator should be a number that can be divided by 8 and also divided by 12. So to begin, what we're going to do is pick all the factors of the first number. We begin by picking all the factors of the first number. That will be 2 times 2 times 2. Our common denominator must contain all the factors of the first number. And now you come to the second number. From the second number, we pick only those factors which are not already picked in the first number. For example, you come and say, this 2. Do you need that 2? Well, the answer is no, I have picked a 2 from the first number. We now go to the second 2. Do we need that 2? No, we have also picked a second 2. So we don't need these 2s. But do we need that 3? Yes, because no 3 has been picked already. That means we need to pick that 3. That means our common denominator now should be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And what is that equal to? 24. You can see 24 can be divided by 8. And 24 can also be divided by 12. Therefore, this is called the lowest number. You see, that is the lowest number that can be divided by both 8 and 12. And for that reason, we actually call it the lowest common denominator. as the lowest possible number that can be your common denominator. So 24 is the smallest number that can be divided by both 8 and 12, and for that reason we call it the lowest common denominator, or LCD. So our first task in adding or subtracting fractions is to find the LCD, lowest common denominator. And what's the method? Factor the first denominator, factor the second denominator, and if you have a third one, factor that also. Then pick factors. Pick all the factors of the first number, and then pick factors from the remaining without repeating. But we will practice this more as we move on. Alright, how do we use the LCD to add or subtract fractions? Now, we started with this 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12. Now, we have identified our common denominator as 24. Is that right? Okay. Now you've got to ask, I want to make this denominator 24 and this denominator 24. And now you know 8 times 3 is 24. So what do? Multiply the numerator and denominator of the first fraction by 3 so that the denominator will become 24. And what do you multiply the second fraction by? By 2, so that the numerator and denominator will become 24. Look at this. 3 over 8 is the same as 3 over 8, 3 times 3 divided by 8 times 3. You multiply the numerator and denominator by 3. Similarly, the second fraction, we multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. What did we achieve? We achieved one thing. We made the denominators of both fractions the same. So that became 9 over 24 plus 10 over 24. We can now say 24 is the common denominator, and what we need to do is add the numerators. So what will be our result? It will be 9 plus 10 on the numerator and 24 on the denominator. That will be 19 over 24. Okay? Let's practice this with another example. There is a quicker way to add this once you have identified the LCD. You see, rather than going and multiplying every fraction by a number on the numerator and denominator, I have developed a simpler method for you. Now, try and see whether you can follow this and try and practice this. Alright? We identified 24 as the LCD, and this is the common denominator. For example, 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12. What is the LCD we identified? 24. So we write that 24 like this. Write the LCD with a big line on top. And what we need to do is construct the numerator. And you see how I'm going to construct my numerator? You've got to say 24 divided by 8. You see, that's how we obtained that number 3, if you remember. Now, the first denominator is 8, and the LCD is 24. Divide 24 by 8. What do you get? 3. And that 3, you multiply with that 3 on the numerator. There you are. So 24 divided by 8 equal to 3. And multiply this 3 with the numerator 3 and write that result there. 3 times 3. One more time. Watch this. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And multiply that 3 with this 3. And right there, 3 times 3. Follow that up with the plus sign. There you are. Alright, we repeat the same process for the second fraction. What is the process? 24 divided by 12 is 2. And what do you do with that 2? Multiply that 2 with this 5. Alright, let's come here and do it. Now, the second denominator is 12. Divide 24 by 12, you get 2. And that 2 is multiplied with the numerator 5 and write it there. Is that right? So that 2, what is that 2? That 2 is 24 divided by 12. That is 2. So 24 divided by 12 is 2. Multiply by that 2 and 5. So what is our numerator now? Add our numerator. Numerator is now 3 times 3, 9, plus 2 times 5, 10, over our common denominator. And that will be 19 divided by 24. You see, this is a very quick method. I'm going to show this one more time, and watch this. 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12. First find the LCD of 8 and 12, and you know that is 24. Write that as your denominator, and then put this big line. We need to now construct our numerator. See how the numerator is constructed? Watch the pointer I'm using. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And that 3 is multiplied by this numerator 3. And write it there, 3 times 3. Follow that up with the sign here, plus. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And that 2 is multiplied by 5. And that gives you your numerator. Isn't that simple? I think so. Well, let's go and do another one. 2 over 9 plus 4 over 15. Okay, can you find the LCD of 9 and 15? What's the method I gave you? First, factor each denominators. Alright? 9 can be factored as 3 times 3. How do you factor 15? It's very simple. 15 is 3 times 5. Okay, we have now factored both denominators. How do we pick our LCD? The method is, first pick all the factors of the first number. So we pick 3 times 3. So pick all the factors of the first number. Then come to the second number and pick only the factors that are not picked already. So you come to this 3. Do we need that 3? Well, no, we don't. We have picked a 3 already. But do we need that 5? Yes. So we need to take that 5. So our LCD now is 3 times 3 multiplied by 5. That is 45. So once you have your LCD, bring it over there and write it. 45 is my denominator. And now put that big line which is going to separate your numerator and denominator. We now need to get our numerator. What's the method? Do you remember? Alright, this is the method to constructing the numerator. 45 divided by the first denominator, 9. What is 45 divided by 9? 45 divided by 9 is 5. You should know that. And what do you do with that 5? Multiply that numerator. So that will be 5 times 2. 45 divided by 9 is 5. Multiply that 5 with this 2. 5 times 2. There you are. So there you got 5 times 2. Follow that up with the plus sign. There you are. Next, 45 divided by 15. How many 15s will go in 45? Well, if you know your tables, 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. 45 divided by 15 is 3. What do you do with that 3? Multiply there with the 4. So that will be 3 times 4. And there we have the numerator. So once again, 45 divided by 9 is 5. And 5 times 2 is our first number on the numerator, followed by plus. 45 divided by 15 is 3. And that 3 is multiplied by 4. Alright, that will be 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 times 4 is 12. That's my numerator. Denominator is 45. And that will be 22 divided by 45. And that's the answer. Don't you think it is a simpler way to add fractions? Well, you need to practice this several times. Let's do another one. Now, this time we have 3 fractions. Watch this. 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12 minus 7 over 18. Okay, let's first find the LCD of 8, 12 and 18. Alright? Okay, I have factored, I have taken 8 and factored is there. 8 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2. Can you factor 12? 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. Is that right? 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12. Can you factor 18? We did that some time ago. 18 is, alright, 2 times 3 times 3. Alright, after factoring all the numbers, how do we pick our LCD? What's the method? Now listen one more time. To pick our LCD, start picking all the factors of the first number. So our LCD is 2 times 2 times 2. We pick all the factors of the first number. Come to the second number and say, we don't need this 2 because the 2 has been picked. We don't need this 2 because the second 2 has been picked. But we need this 3. So, now we have picked 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Go to the second number, or the third number. Do we need that 2? No. Do we need that 3? No, we have picked a 3 there. But do we need that second 3? Yes, because we have picked only one 3. So if there is a second 3, we need to pick that. So what's our LCD now? It is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. There you are. 72. That means 72 can be divided by 8, 12 and 18. Okay, now we got the LCD as 72. What's the method? Come here and put down that LCD. That is 72. Okay, can you help me construct the numerator? How are we going to construct the numerator? Go like this. 72 divided by 8. Start with the first denominator. What is 72 divided by 8? Anybody knows? 8 goes in 72 9 times. So 72 divided by 8 is 9. What do we do with that 9? Multiply that numerator. So that will be 72 divided by 8 is 9. And multiply that 9 with this 3. 9 times 3 is our first number on the denominator. Follow that up with the plus sign. Alright, let's go to the next slide. Next, 72 divided by 12. What is 72 divided by 12? 12 times 2 is 24, 12 times 3 is 36, 12 times 4 is 48, 12 times 5 is 60, 12 times 6 is 72. 72 divided by 12 is 6. Multiply that 6 with the 5. You see? 72 divided by 12 is 6. And multiply that 6 with the 5 and write it there. Alright, next is a minus sign. So the sign coming there will be a minus sign. What is 72 divided by 18? What is 72 divided by 18? Isn't it 4? 18 times 4 is 72. So 72 divided by 18 is 4. What do we do with that 4? Multiply with that 7. So you have that negative there. And what comes after the negative? Is 72 divided by 18 is 4. And 4 multiplied by 7. I'm going to repeat this one more time. How do we construct the numerator? Watch this again. 72 divided by 8 is 9. 9 times 3 is our first number. Follow that up with the plus sign. Plus. 72 divided by 12 is 6. And multiply that 6 with the 5. 6 times 5. Minus, there we go, minus. 72 divided by 18 is 4. And that 4 is multiplied by 7. Now, that's very easy to construct that numerator. Now we multiply these numbers. That will be 9 times 3 is 27, plus 6 times 5 is 30, minus 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, what is 27 plus 30 minus 28? It's 29 over 72. Now that is a good question. I want you to do that on your own. Practice it on your own so that you get familiarized with the art of adding and subtracting fractions. Alright, let's try this. Add 2 and 5 sixths plus 5 and 7 eighths. Well,